Last spring, I stayed at a friend's house. I couldn't wait for the giggles and laughs. I was going to drop my suitcase in her guest room, and then the fun could begin. But first, it turned out that I had to climb a dark, scary stairway. Halfway up the stairwell, it jogged 90 degrees to the right. My suitcase and I almost fell back down the stairs. By the time I reached her guest room, it felt like I had climbed Mount Everest without a headlamp. I really appreciated my friend's hospitality, don't get me wrong, but having to climb her scary stairway multiple times daily really freaked me out. I don't think my friend realized just how trippy her stairwell was, but I wondered, why is this so hard? My graduate school advisors, and yes, that was a million years ago, said they gave me really good advice as I was preparing for the workforce. They said, "You're a natural leader. Always look ahead and be prepared. And dress for the job you want, Gina, not for the job you have." I liked their advice so much, it became my standard operating procedure. I didn't just dress for the jobs I wanted, I behaved for the jobs I wanted. I became the most hard-working, conscientious, promotion-ready employee you ever saw. I always gave 110%, and I did this for years with a big smile. But as the years went by, and I began to apply for the jobs I wanted, rather than the ones the organizations wanted for me, I noticed that my standard operating procedure didn't seem to be working as well. I started to get frustrating feedback like, "Yes, you are our top performer, but we can't promote you ahead of Sandy." Or, "Yes, we see great things ahead in the future for you, but you want to move too fast. You need to slow down." I began to wonder, why is this so hard? These two situations I just described were really challenging for me because I had this sense that I could not see around the corner. I felt powerless. And I began to wonder, wouldn't it be better for me if I always found a way to light my own path? And guess what? I found a solution in a somewhat surprising place. I took an improv class. I learned from improv that I could always find a way forward if only I trusted the process and myself. The essence of improv is to take what your acting partner says and add something to it. Actors call this the yes and model. So for example, if your partner said, "I wish I could sing like Beyonce," you could say, "Oh wow, I know a fantastic voice teacher and I'm going to introduce you." Or you could say, "That's not going to happen. Your voice is like fingernails on a chalkboard." Notice how my choice of words and emotion determine the direction for the rest of that story? Well, that's when I figured out that I could use this same yes and power to guide my own career story. I have a friend named Pam, and for years, she headed up the recruiting function for a large company. And she told me once that most people who apply for a job couldn't tell her why they wanted it. Most people hoped this next job would satisfy all their career dreams, but they hadn't defined the dream. They hadn't defined their why. And back then, I was just like Pam's job applicants. I didn't know my why either. Yes, I was frustrated with that trippy career ladder I just described, but I really didn't want to quit my day job. I loved my work. But there was another source of frustration. I had this secret yearning to have a greater impact in the world, just not in the way my day job would allow. That was my big why. I just wasn't sure how to express it. I needed a yes powerful enough that my and response would be a revelation, just like in improv. Here's what I figured out. When you want to live your career dream, behave like an improv director. Use your why to power your yes and dreams. But what is a why? A why answers these two simple questions. What change do you want to see in the world? And what will you do to be a part of that change? What change do you want to see in the world? And what can you do to be a part of that change? You may not get to live your why in your day job, but you can still build small yes and stepping stones that will lead you closer to your purpose. John Legend's first job out of college was as a management consultant. Bless his heart, I've done that job. But he also nurtured his voice and his audience. And today, John is a music legend. We know Billie Jean King as a world class tennis player, but she recognized early in her career that being number one in tennis could be a way for her to make the world more equal for all women. It is that equality thing that powered Billie Jean King's career. We know Maya Angelou as a poet and an author, but her first job was as the first Black streetcar conductor in San Francisco. By the time she became famous, she had been an actor, an activist, a dancer, a journalist. No wonder her work is so compelling and moves hearts. The thing that John, Billie Jean, and Maya have in common is that they figured out their why. I know my why now too. I exist to help leaders build organizations in which all employees can thrive. Once I figured out that why, it completely changed the way I thought about my career. I continued to work on the corporate career ladder and I broadened my perspective. I asked new questions. I developed new relationships. I learned new skills like public speaking, for example. Knowing my why enabled me to create my first yes, a leadership book. And then other stepping stones lit up my ands. This TED Talk is one of my ands. Each custom stepping stone I build brings me greater peace, unlike those trippy corporate career ladders. And I make the workplace better. Can you imagine how much frustration I could have avoided if I had figured this out earlier in my career? I'm a bit of a slow mover when it comes to this, but it wasn't too late for me. And it's not too late for you either. Nowadays, I carry my why and my yes and career strategies like dual mountain climber headlamps. I light up my own way. It doesn't matter if my friend has a trippy stairwell or if my career has a trippy career ladder. I light up my own path. I no longer ask, oh gosh, why is this so hard? Because it turns out that doing why things actually seems easier. I light up my own path. I write my own story. And so can you.